So last video we talked about the feeling that maybe you're not in the right role or imposter syndrome. As we continue this series on the basics of leadership, in this video I'll be talking about the difference between knowledge and wisdom and how you gain practical experience in leadership. In case you haven't seen the link below, I published a book about a year ago called Knowledge and Wisdom in Leadership and Life. You can find it on Amazon if you're interested. I landed on the title through a little bit of an epiphany, and I talk about it on my website. Over the past 20, 25 years, as I got more interested in various philosophies, really understanding human psychology and tying everything back to my interests and role in leadership, I came to realize that while knowledge and wisdom are both important, the truly great leaders that I have been around really relied more on their wisdom, their experience. And you might think that's a no-brainer, and it kind of is to some degree. However, when was the last time someone coached you on how to make a decision? Did they tell you to trust your heart, your gut, your intuition, or trust your brain, the facts, the data? Leadership is not a court of law where facts rule. It's a court of human behavior where emotions really rule. And when you think about these two concepts, knowledge is really what you might call theoretical. It's what we read and learn about what's supposed to happen when you do certain things in a certain way in certain situations. It's intellectual and it resides in your brain. And it can be lost over time as you forget things that you never really apply or actually experience. If you've ever learned how to do something and then didn't actually do it for 6 months, you understand. You're going to forget it. Wisdom, on the other hand, is what you gain from applying knowledge in a real life situation. It's what actually happens, not what's supposed to happen. It's emotional, it resides in your heart. It never goes away because emotions create feelings and both are ingrained in your heart and soul. Mark Twain was credited with saying, knowledge becomes wisdom only after it's been put to good use. Do you believe this? I absolutely do. And let me give you an example. The first time I had to fire someone, I talked with several people I respected about how to do it, what to expect, etc. And when the moment came, I knew intellectually in my brain what I was going to do and how things would go. What I was not prepared for were the emotions of the situation, basically from me and the other person. The knowledge I learned helped me prepare, but until I actually experienced this, I could never have the emotions and feelings that were burned into my heart. To this day, I can't remember the knowledge these other people shared with me, but I can remember exactly what it felt like, and it forever changed how I approach these situations and how I guide others. This is what wisdom is. It's what separates great leaders from potentially great leaders. They've actually experienced the application of knowledge to gain wisdom, and that wisdom now guides them. Think back to a leader you respect, maybe admire, someone you might ask for help when you're in a tough situation. Would you rather this person told you what the book says to do, or would you rather have them tell you what they actually have experienced? They might say, hey, Brett, on your question or your situation, the theory tells you to do it this way, and you can try that. But what usually happens in real life is this. You see the difference. Again, this is obvious, but not everyone tells you this. The ones who tell you to follow the book have never really done it, and they don't really know what happens when that knowledge is applied. As I've said before, leadership is a lifelong learning process. You never fully arrive. And leadership is also an individual sport to some degree. And the way you develop as a leader will be different how someone else develops as a leader. And that's what makes leadership so unique and so difficult to duplicate. So, how do you gain wisdom in leadership or in any other area of your life? Well, as I said, the only way to gain wisdom is by trying something. And the only way you can try something is by having confidence in yourself. And we touched on this in the last video. Trusting in yourself. You can't be afraid of what might happen if things don't go the way you planned. You can surely be aware of what might go wrong, but you must have confidence in your ability to respond and adapt to that outcome. And the only way you gain that confidence is by making a decision and experiencing what happens. I'll talk more about this in another video, but I've really come to believe that there really are no mistakes. There are only decisions, outcomes, and then another decision. You'll always be aware of the potential outcomes of decisions or actions, but you cannot be afraid of them. You simply gather information, make the best decision that you can. You see what happens and either continue or you change course. And we know we'll walk away with wisdom that will serve us again in our next situation. So back to my example. If I had read and learned about firing someone but was afraid to actually do it, I would never really know what it's like. But since I do have that wisdom, it's easy for me to empathize with others and guide them through their experience. So remember what we said about leadership. It's leaders make a positive emotional connection with others. Leaders inspire others to be better tomorrow than they were today. And leaders care more about their team's goals than their own goals. So if you think about that, if I'm afraid to show emotions enough to make a connection, or afraid to challenge others to get better, or afraid to even ask questions about someone else's goals so that I might be able to help, how can I ever make that positive emotional connection? How can I ever gain the wisdom of a great leader? As a leader, we have to be willing to learn all we can about our role. We have to learn about people, learn about what they positively respond to, learn about ourselves, our own strengths, our own weaknesses, and then, be courageous enough to apply all this when working with the people on our team. As you do this, you'll begin to gain practical experience, which in turn becomes wisdom. And there really is no other way for you to develop as a leader. In closing, I'd say gaining practical experience is learning about yourself, what you know and what you don't know about yourself. Trust in yourself, have confidence in yourself that your intentions are positive and you care about those you're involved with. Don't be afraid of the outcomes of your decision. Trust in yourself, understand the situation, and make the best decision you can. Believe that whatever happens in any given situation, you will respond in the right way. And the next time a similar situation comes up, you'll remember what it felt like, and you'll make the right decision again. So I hope this was meaningful to you in some way, and if nothing else, inspires you to maybe think differently about something regarding your leadership or what you're doing in your personal life, and the difference between knowledge and wisdom. In the next video, I'm going to be talking about the responsibility of leadership. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.